The story continues as Celia woke up in her bed, confused about what had just happened. Leonis explained that she had passed out due to lack of energy, and he had to share some of his own with her. But his words were puzzling, so Celia inquired about his real name. He replied that he was an ancient sorcerer who had returned to life from a crystal, and he possessed skills that had been long forgotten. However, his magic could only control death and couldn't heal or resurrect anyone because he lacked the power of holy magic. The only way he could save her was by turning her into an undead being. Celia then asked if Leonis could use the power of the holy sword. In response, Leonis cast a level 10 spell called Create Elder Undead to demonstrate his ability. He had been unsure if it would work, but Celia was reborn as the Vampire Queen, the most powerful of all undead creatures. She worried about her newfound vampiric nature, but Leonis assured her that her instincts made her drink some of his blood because she had no mother. Celia believed him and forgave him for not saving her in the conventional way. Celia decided to share her story with Leonis. 6 years ago, she had lost her city while protecting her parents from an attack. She explained how she and Leonis had used holy swords to defend the city to the best of their ability. However, she felt sadness about having to live with Regina afterward. To become stronger and bring her holy sword to life, she had undergone rigorous training. Leonis was unaware that Celia could still summon a holy sword, so she asked him about it. He simply replied that being a vampire queen had made her much stronger. Celia was still a bit apprehensive, but her mood lightened when Leonis's stomach audibly rumbled. She teased him for spending more time in a girl's room than eating, and they decided to head to the cafeteria. At the cafeteria, Celia questioned whether she could still eat normal food as a vampire. Leonis assured her that she could since she was a high-ranking vampire, and it would help her recover. However, Celia wasn't pleased with the idea of taking so long to regain her strength through food. She asked him if he had decided on his order, but Leonis only requested bread, confessing that he didn't know how to make most dishes. Celia advised him to eat well, but he nonchalantly claimed that the undead didn't need food. This upset Celia, and Leonis realized that she was still adjusting to her new undead life. He apologized and agreed to order food as she suggested. Afterward, Leonis revealed a secret gold coin, thinking to himself how rich a demon lord would be. However, his wealth turned out to be a lie when Celia asked him about it. He tried to pass himself off as a wealthy individual who could buy any business, but Celia saw through his act, leaving him embarrassed. When Celia pointed out that real gold or money had lost its value in the present, and everything was acquired using credits, they overheard a conversation in the background. A girl was talking to two guys, and the guys were complaining because she wasn't wearing the school's uniform. They tried to take advantage of the situation, and one of them even grabbed her. However, the girl swiftly knocked them down with her wooden sword. She reprimanded them, stating that she had permission to dress that way, causing the guys to run away. Celia rushed to the girl and called her Sakuya. She asked what had happened, and Sakuya explained that she was supposed to be in a tactical drill, but she found it boring. Instead, she decided to gamble until those two guys caught her. Celia then turned her attention to Leonis, and explained that a line had already mentioned him. Celia kept her version of the story, saying that Leonis had been abducted by voids, and she had saved him. Sakuya introduced herself and shook Leonis's hand. He quickly realized that she was someone who had dedicated her entire life to sword training, and he wondered about the extent of her training. Celia then revealed that Sakuya was the vanguard attacker for her platoon, and she ended up paying for everyone's lunch. While they were eating, Leonis asked Sakuya why she was dressed the way she was. Sakuya explained that it was the traditional clothing of her homeland and a memento of her sister. Her village had been attacked and destroyed by voids, and she was the sole survivor. Now, she was training relentlessly to become stronger and seek revenge. Leonis apologized for bringing up such painful circumstances, and Sakuya explained that typically, people were required to wear the academy's attire. However, she had received special permission to wear her traditional outfit as it was a keepsake from her sister. After the meal, Celia and Leonis headed to the training grounds to register Leonis's holy sword. There, they met Alto, the instructor responsible for his examination. Alto explained that she would assess him to determine the type of holy sword he possessed. Leonis summoned his demon lord staff, and Alto questioned his abilities. Leonis described himself as a support who could adapt to various situations. He noticed some robots around and inquired about them. Celia explained that these robots were void simulators capable of copying void combat patterns. Alto instructed Leonis to fight one set to a low level. Leonis believed that a level 2 gravity spell would suffice, but it unexpectedly destroyed all the robots. Celia and Alto were amazed by his power. Alto probed further, questioning if his holy sword was genuinely a support type, and their conversation drew the attention of those around them. Alto began reprogramming the void simulator to a higher level when they were interrupted by an annoying figure named Mule. He expressed his desire to handle the examination. Leonis agreed, but he also ridiculed Mule by claiming he was on the same level as the robots. This infuriated Mule, causing him to call his holy sword useless. His pet companions summoned air weapons, but Celia intervened, stating that a 5-on-1 fight was unfair. Mule insisted that his holy sword could control others as its power. Leonis confidently accepted the challenge, agreeing to the condition that if he lost, Celia would join Mule's platoon and become his subordinate. Leonis knew Mule's intentions and decided to turn the situation to his advantage. If Mule lost, he must promise never to bother Celia again. Mule, who was clearly overconfident, accepted Leonis's challenge with a swagger. Leonis boldly proclaimed that he wouldn't allow anyone to touch his girl, causing Celia to blush. Celia then asked Alto for a training sword, a holy sword replica designed for practice. After arranging their positions, they decided to begin. Celia wasted no time, dashing forward and swiftly knocking down one of Mule's companions. She then moved to confront Mule, but another girl intervened to block her. Leonis observed, noticing that Celia's abilities had improved since becoming a vampire queen. One of the other girls aggressively smashed her weapon into the ground, forcing Celia to parry the assault. Mule, in his typical fashion, ordered one of his pets to engage Leonis while Celia was distracted. The girl rushed forward and launched a lightning attack, but Leonis easily used a low-level spell to block it with his shadow, followed by restraining the girl. Meanwhile, Celia began gaining the upper hand in her battles against the two girls. A third girl attempted to join the fight, but Celia swiftly took her down. Celia then decided to deal with Mule, who used his wand to immobilize her. Celia was perplexed by this development, and Mule explained that it was his true power, the Holy Sword of Dominion. He knocked Celia's sword out of her hand and made lewd threats, promising to deal with her later. But first, he turned his attention to Leonis, who was somewhat cornered. Leonis still had the first girl restrained, but the other 3 girls were surrounding him. Mule contemplated using a level 2 spell to eliminate them all at once, but then he heard Celia talking to herself. She mentioned her strong desire to protect Leonis, and she began to pray for her holy sword to appear. Her intense longing produced a bright light in her hands, which transformed into her holy sword, Regina. Regina appeared to Celia's astonishment, and it allowed her to break free from the restraints. Mule, the perpetual loser, couldn't fathom what was happening. This gave Celia the opportunity to rush forward and destroy his wand, freeing all the girls from his control. With no other option, Mule conceded defeat. The onlookers, including Regina, cheered for Celia, who was overwhelmed by her newfound power. Later, she thanked Leonis for his assistance, but he modestly dismissed it, stating that she did it out of duty. Celia was puzzled, but Leonis clarified that her duty was to protect her master, which, in this case, was him. She didn't fully understand but laughed it off, promising to protect him. She patted him affectionately and asked for a favor. She wanted Leonis to make her stronger and join her platoon. Leonis quickly accepted her request, sealing the deal. To celebrate, they threw a welcoming party, where Regina cooked a grand feast. This celebration was also in honor of Celia's awakening as a holy sword wielder. Aline and Sakuya congratulated her, and inquired about Leonis's performance during the examination. They briefly discussed naming her holy sword, but Celia brushed off the topic. Aline invited Leonis to her room to assess his skills, leading to a discussion about where he would stay since there were no available rooms in their dorm. Regina eagerly volunteered to host him, and Sakuya also expressed interest, despite her long hours away from the dorm. Aline chimed in, mentioning that she had plenty of room in her own quarters. With so many offers, Leonis was faced with a dilemma, but Celia stepped in, asserting that she was his guardian and would ensure his comfort at night. The other girls suspected something, but Leonis declared his preference to stay with Celia, not because of the cold winter but to protect their secrets, especially since she needed to obtain mana from his blood as promised. Leaving the festivities behind, Leonis went to Aline's room for the examination. She used her holy sword, the Eye of to scan his data, and he was suitably impressed. However, Aline revealed that she had lost her holy sword powers and now had limited capabilities. She recounted her past as the main attacker for the 7th Platoon, the most formidable group, which typically undertook void extermination missions. 6 months ago, they were ambushed by voids while investigating ruins, and their group fell apart. She was the sole survivor and lost most of her power, leading her to isolate herself. Celia's frequent visits had convinced her to join the platoon. Aline concluded the biological data scan, but she discovered something intriguing. Leonis seemed to enjoy staring at her chest. She scolded him, reminding him that being naughty wasn't appropriate. He noticed a map on her monitor and asked for permission to examine it. She granted his request, providing him with a tablet displaying the map. As he examined it, Leonis spotted areas with concentrated void activity over the past few months. He summoned Blacka and discovered that the voids had similar characteristics to the monsters used by the Dark Lords against humanity. He instructed Blacka to investigate these locations, and the familiar disappeared. Simultaneously, a group of divers explored underwater ruins and encountered a massive tree with a face. The tree called out Leonis's name and attacked the divers.